If you can, remember the horror of the 2008 recession and how it caught millions of Americans off guard. With that in mind, I'm sure you'll want to know that the next recession is just creeping around the corner. The market drops we saw in September and December last year were just the warning signs. One man, who I trust has the guts to speak the truth on America's secrets that are hiding in plain sight. You've probably heard of him, best-selling author Doug Casey. He's been called America's top legendary speculator, and every major political and economic forecast Doug has ever made over the last 3 decades came true. His research shows a major stock crash is around the corner, and it could be triggered by a powerful group of individuals whose efforts are intended to simply sabotage Donald Trump's presidency. And the worst part? Hardworking Americans who saved diligently for retirement are the ones who will feel it the most. We've documented how Doug expects this market crash and recession to play out, how it's aimed at the Trump presidency, and who's behind it. And yes, what simple steps you should take now if you want to survive financially and live peacefully under the radar when it all goes down. To watch this free presentation, go to www.badnews2020.com and watch for free. Once again, that's www.badnews2020.com and listen to what Doug has to say. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pill news. Well, Paris is burning. By the time that you're watching this video, the fire hopefully will have been put out, but Notre Dame, the famous cathedral in Paris, is at this moment burning and devastated. Very perhaps coincidentally, on Friday, there were several women that were jailed in Paris just over the weekend due to a failed attack that was supposed to take place in 2016. They had actually hoped to destroy Notre Dame. So I'm wondering if perhaps this fire could not be some type of retribution, a message sent from people that she's connected with. As of right now, here is a tweet from someone in Paris who actually has some experience as a history student, he says. He says, obviously everyone is shocked, but here's a few important key facts. The roof is completely gone. Part of it dated back from the 13th century, but the rest was from the 19th. The stone arch under the rooftop is fine. One of the 3 main stained glass windows has fallen out. Most of the other stained glass windows are okay. The spire has fallen down, and that's the saddest part, but it was in the process of being restored, and the 16 statues that were there were removed just 4 days ago, so they're fine. The main structure is still here, and nothing has burned down, unlike what some people have been saying. The treasure, sacred objects, is safe. Notre Dame is still there, it's just damaged. Almost nothing was lost today, but nobody was wounded either. It's scary, but it's going to be okay. Also very interesting, I'd say, that they just happen to be in the midst of renovating it right now, so that everything that really mattered was out of the cathedral. So, almost, perhaps this, as if this was some type of a ritual or a planned event. Now, planned by whom? I don't know. I don't know about that. But we're going to take a look at this article from Zero Hedge. Paris is beheaded. Firefighters struggle to save Notre Dame from devastation after spire collapses. Now, French President Emmanuel Macron is on the scene. He is giving a speech, or he was at the time this was written. And then there are many different memes and pictures and sources of video, so we're going to go through all of them. Meanwhile, a drawing of Quasimodo, the animated hunchback of Notre Dame from the 1996 Disney film, has gone viral as a symbol of mourning and loss after the tragedy. This is certainly going to be an event that brings the French closer together. And here's a look at tomorrow's front pages. Let's take a look at these images. 9 centuries of history lost to the unholy inferno. A location of incredible history and a holy place quite literally consumed in flame. The Vatican has released a statement on the fire at Notre Dame, bemoaning the tragedy and offering prayers for French Catholics. As firefighters rush to try and prevent an all-out collapse of the cathedral, the fire has consumed almost its entire roof. Yep, that's certainly gone. Devastating. Devastating. And how did it start? Offering another sliver of good news, officials told the French media that the North Bell Tower might be saved. Officials said they were more optimistic than they were earlier, and there was reason to believe both towers could probably be saved. But it looks like the spire is gone. Meanwhile, as one Twitter account pointed out, a number of historic tragedies have unfolded on April 15th. Could this be a sign from the universe? Things that have happened on April 15th. The Titanic sank. Lincoln died. The Boston Marathon tragedy. And now Notre Dame has burned. As thousands gasped in horror along the banks of the Seine, keeping vigil late into the night as the iconic cathedral smoldered, some on Twitter tried to find humor in the midst of the tragedy. In the land of the yellow vests, a mighty fire will topple a lady. Then will the orange man in the west lay waste to another alliance, and out of ignorance the hawk will turn into a pigeon and ignite the apocalypse of the yields. Nostradamus, Quatrain 875. What could it mean? That's a joke. Shedding more light on the cause of the fire, an expert in New York told the New York Times that construction and renovation fires at old churches and synagogues aren't that common. An iconic church in NYC burned down last year under similar circumstances. Glenn Corbett, an associate professor of fire science at John Jay College in New York, said that construction work and renovations had long been a dangerous combination. There is a history of churches and synagogues and other houses of worship falling victim to construction fires, he said, adding that one of the reasons for the peril was the proximity of open flames on torches, sparks from welders, and other hazards on scaffolding to other flammable materials. Rebutting Trump's suggestion that France try to put out the fire by dumping water on the blaze via the air, French emergency services said such an operation could cause the whole thing to collapse. Speaking with bystanders on the banks of the Seine, the New York Times recorded reactions ranging from sadness to terror. It hurts to watch this. The cathedral is the symbol, the heart of Paris. The crowd gasped and cried in horror as the spire fell, Mr. Tremovillis said, adding, Paris is beheaded. Another described it as 8 centuries of history up in smoke. The coronation of Napoleon, as depicted here, which took place in the Notre Dame. Christine Lagarde weighed in on Twitter, saying she shared the sadness of the French people. One can't help but wonder how the destruction of Notre Dame and the presumed hit to tourism revenues might impact France's growth prospects. Like so many others in the world, whether French or not, I share the emotion of the Parisians and French people as the fire engulfs Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. Demonstrating just how ineffectual YouTube's automated systems for filtering out conspiratorial content are, BBG reports that one of the Is this BBG or BBC? BBG reports that the company's algorithms accidentally flagged a live stream of the fire at Notre Dame as a conspiracy from September. Meanwhile, France's interior minister has Christophe Castaner is the latest official to confirm that the cathedral might be completely destroyed, as firefighters might not be able to save it. The next hour and a half will be decisive, a spokesman for the city's firefighters said at 9:30 p.m. Paris time, according to the New York Times. They also revealed that the fire started in the attic of the cathedral. We're not sure of being able to stop the spread of the fire in the North Belfry, the spokesman told television interviewers, adding that the fire had started in the cathedral's attic. I leave you to imagine, in that case, the extent of the damage. Firefighters are also struggling to save the northern tower of the cathedral, which is currently on fire and presently in danger of collapse. A priest at the cathedral has told reporters that all of the priceless artwork inside the cathedral has been saved, including the crown of thorns, and that the treasure of the cathedral is intact. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for the building itself. Though police quickly assured the public that the cause of the fire was accidental, Paris prosecutors have reportedly opened an investigation into what started the blaze. As 400 firefighters combat the blaze, the flames have spread to one of the 2 towers that adorn the facade. The blaze is expected to burn for several hours, and a church official has told reporters that they expect the cathedral to be completely destroyed. I don't understand how they could say that it was an accidental fire when they haven't even had any opportunity to do any investigation. The building is still burning. While addressing a roundtable on the economy in Minnesota, Trump offered more comments on the fire. Trump said the cathedral looks like it's burning to the ground. Let's go ahead and take a listen to what the president had to say.
It was burning at a level that you rarely see a fire burn. It's one of the great treasures of the world, the greatest artists in the world. Probably, if you think about it, I would say, Jovita, it might be greater than almost any museum in the world, and it's burning very badly. It looks like it's burning to the ground. So that puts a damper on what we're about to say, to be honest, because that is beyond countries, that's beyond anything. That's a part of our growing up. It's a part of our culture. It's a part of our lives. That's a truly great cathedral. And I've been there and I've seen it, and there's no cathedral. I think I could say there's probably no cathedral in the world like it. It's a terrible scene. They think it was caused by, at this moment they don't know, but they think it was caused by renovation. And I hope that's the reason. Renovation, you know, what's that all about? But it's a terrible sight to behold.
Truly a terrible sight. Having grown up Catholic and having like the learned about the Notre Dame and seeing things about it in my teachings, this is really tragic. I mean, I had always wanted to visit, and hopefully I'll still be able to. Macron offered his thoughts and prayers to all Catholics in a tweet. UNESCO is also closely monitoring the situation. Deep emotion in the face of this dramatic fire at the Cathedral Notre Dame in Paris, inscribed as World Heritage in 1991. UNESCO is closely monitoring the situation and is standing by France's side to safeguard and restore this invaluable heritage. Though officials say the fire looks like an accident, it's certainly curious that 10 Catholic churches have been vandalized across France in the span of a week. 1 month ago, 10 Catholic churches across France attacked in 1 week. Very, very curious. With the inside probably irreparably damaged, if not completely lost, some are sharing photos of the interior of the cathedral. Beautiful. To recap, the cathedral's 15-foot lead spire has collapsed, and the roof has as well during Holy Week on the Catholic calendar, which is a busy season for Paris's most popular tourist attraction. Though he was tweeting before the spire collapsed, this thread from a former state public safety official in the U.S. offers some insights into the monumental task facing the Parisian firefighters as they rush to save the cathedral. Wow. After my last tweet, I got a couple of DMs asking firefighting-related questions about the Notre Dame fire. I, like most of you, are watching from a world away. But if you're interested in some profession-specific things I'd note, be concerned of, you can follow this thread. This is most likely what is causing the fire to run the roof, as seen in the first picture. The fire is essentially burning unchecked. If it started high in the building, Paris Fire might be able to save the walls, but the roof is basically surrounded at this point. Of course, because it's all wood. The first issue is how old churches are built. Heavy timber construction with large open spaces and very few, if any, in a church like Notre Dame, fire stops. A fire stop is a passive fire protection system made up of various components and used to seal openings in buildings. If the fire started high on the structure, there's a chance that Paris Fire can save the walls and unimpinged areas of the cathedral, but the roof has basically been surrendered at this point. The peak, the lack of access, and fire spreads means most certain loss. The peak, the lack of access, and fire spread means almost certain loss. Wow. In firefighting, there is something called a trench cut that basically opens a large roof up from the peak to gutter, allowing space to stop fire spread. Given the peak of the cathedral roof and advanced fire conditions, this is an unlikely option in the main area of the building. Even in aerial waterways, think hook and ladders with pre-piped hoses, could reach Even if aerial waterways, think hook and ladders with pre-piped hoses, could reach the roofline, it is difficult to see how they would get an angle that would get water on the fire. It's just too high. So this means you have to put firefighters inside. Inside is a whole other problem. The primary option is large 2.5-inch fire hoses. These are heavy, difficult to maneuver, and against a fire like this, largely ineffective. This option also means placing responders on the inside as the roof is falling down around them. And we aren't talking shingles. This is heavy timber construction, often 12 by 12 in old churches, perhaps bigger in a cathedral this old. Another concern is accountability. Life safety is always the first priority, even in historic landmarks. Notre Dame was undergoing renovation. This means that there were a lot more people there than normal. Is the cathedral staff all out? The construction workers? Visitors? If unaccounted for, where were they and how many? What does a rescue task force look like? How many responders do you place in additional harm's way for unconfirmed reports? I don't have these answers at a distance, but the responders on scene are asking them and forming plans. And let's pause to remember how fire actually burns. You need oxygen, fuel, heat, and a chemical chain reaction. If you take any of these away, cool material, remove fuel, or oxygen, or interrupt the CCR, the fire will go out. Removing the fuel is a no-go. Churches have no shortage of things to burn. The heat that a fire this size is putting off is tremendous. Little options for interrupting that. The chemical chain reaction is off to the races. That horse has left the stable in the first 5 minutes. Wow. That leaves the oxygen. Unfortunately, even if the roof had not burned off, churches are nearly impossible to control ventilation in. Their design is to be open and airy, great for Sunday worship, terrible for managing fire spread. Finally, I'd be worried about construction materials not usually found in churches since it was under renovation. Things that can explode, things that don't like being hit with water, hazardous material that can go off, go airborne, etc. Finally, especially this deep into the fire, you have to be thinking about collapse of some or all of the structure. The steeple and roof have to go somewhere, and there is no guarantee that it's straight down. The walls of Notre Dame are stout, but if weakened by fire and roofing timbers could come down, are the streets in the collapse zone cleared? Of both onlookers and responders, trucks, are any other buildings threatened? If a wall of fire comes down, what's the plan to fight that fire? My gut and experience tells me that the best case scenario here is something similar to Orthodox Cathedral of St. Sava fire in NYC. And that looks devastating. At least for the main part of Notre Dame that has been affected by fire. In short, saving the cathedral might be an impossible task. From earlier today, it's looking increasingly likely that the cathedral will be burned to the ground after a church spokesman confirmed that its entire frame is on fire under the spire collapse. The government is desperately trying to save the artwork inside the cathedral. French firefighters are still putting together a plan to put out the blaze. The cathedral's location on a small island in the middle of the Seine certainly isn't helping. Helicopters are being discussed according to French media. Fire hoses can't reach the roof that high. This is an extremely difficult intervention for firemen. Most of the area's burning edge, the Seine River, so they are struggling to find places to position the water hoses, and the height of the roof makes it difficult to reach. Though the cathedral has endured a number of threats during its more than 850-year history, the damage from today's fire is unprecedented, one source claimed. Although I like the sentiment, the church was desecrated during the Revolution, but the damage today is unprecedented. The cathedral was ransacked during the French Revolution, but was largely rebuilt in the 1840s. The spire that collapsed went up about 150 years ago. And here is actual footage of it collapsing. That smoke seems so yellow. Wow. Here's some more footage. That and some more.
Bienvenue. Alors, on a commencé à mettre les desserts, mais vous savez, au programme salé.
Il y a toujours rien comme actu.
Good grief. Is that just the light from the fire that's making that smoke so yellow? I don't know anything about how fires work, guys. I've never been in a fire, never had a house that burned down. If anyone in the audience is a fire specialist or a fireman and you'd like to comment on the color of the smoke, I'd be very interested, because I would imagine that it would be black, or at least far more gray. And here are some more pictures of it going up. Since officials are blaming the fire on an accident related to the renovations, just imagine renovating one of the world's most historic landmarks, then accidentally burning it to the ground. The neighborhood around the cathedral has been evacuated, and Macron is reportedly on the way to the scene. Huge crowds have gathered around the banks of the Seine to watch in amazement as the cathedral burns. And there it is right there. There's the river, and that's the island that it sits on. President Trump has weighed in on the blaze, urging Parisian officials to act quickly to save the cathedral. So horrible to watch the massive fire at Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. Perhaps flying water tankers could be used to put it out. Must act quickly. And here's some footage from CBS. Let's see.
You can see those pictures of the flames and the billowing smoke. We do know that they have evacuated the area, and we are hearing that they believe that local officials believe that this fire may have started as a result of renovations that are being done to the 800-year-old Gothic structure that sits at the heart of Paris. Really is in many ways the...
We're on half term over here. It was rush hour. So Paris at the moment, during spring, during this time of year, as we're extremely carefully works.
Of course, of course. Now, this...
Media at one point, what appeared to be, although I couldn't verify it at the moment, a crowd of people singing Ave Maria somewhere in proximity to Notre Dame. Can you just talk about, for those of the Catholic faith and of France, telling people that the next hours will be difficult. Thanks to the firefighters' courage, we will get through it. The president going on to express his sympathies to the Catholic community and thanking all of the people of Paris. He said, Notre Dame of Paris is our cathedral. The history of Notre Dame is our history. It's been there through all our big moments, war, liberation. It is the epicenter of our life. Kevin, can you add to that? What has this with the art that was contained in that cathedral?
It's pretty excruciating, and I don't think that's because it's my area. It's the kind of thing I spend all day thinking about at work. Mm-hmm. I think it's true for everyone. It's such an icon of not only of Paris, not only of France, but it's really a great icon of civilization and of the best aspirations of people.
One of the things that we heard from authorities there in Paris is that
at this point, firefighters attacking the blaze are treating it as an accident somehow related to the massive construction happening at the cathedral, which was being renovated. Police later confirmed that the fire was an accident linked to the renovation work. The cathedral has been undergoing a $12.5 million renovation financed by the French state after the Catholic Church in France launched an urgent campaign to raise funds for the renovation because the cathedral was starting to crumble. Cracks had started appearing in the stone at the cathedral, sparking fears that it could become unstable. If there's a silver lining, many of the historic statues were removed by crane just last night. Meanwhile, the fact that the cathedral caught fire at the beginning of the Holy Week, a time when Catholic tourists have flocked to the city, added a layer of irony to the fire. At this point, it looks like the cathedral's spire has been totally destroyed. Incredible. French President Emmanuel Macron has postponed a policy speech to attend to the disaster. We saw him speaking. Here's some more footage. Please, anyone with any knowledge of fires, I'd really like to get your opinion on what this looks like. It looks so yellow. Is that maybe because of the old pine? I don't know that it was even built with pine, but massive loss. This is a massive and incredible loss for the people of France and for Catholics the world over.
Check if that's a cool too. What are you looking for here?
Just checking windows on the
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Well, now we're to the beginning of the thread. So that's it. That's it for the information on the Notre Dame fire. I'm sure that I will continue to report on this as new information becomes available. But let's, at this point, just pray that no one was hurt, that all of the construction workers and anyone that was there visiting the cathedral has been able to get out unharmed, and that no one is missing. Now, next, I wanted to show off Huawei's new zoom-in camera phone feature. This is really bad for people and their privacy. Take a look at how powerful this is. This is a
很多朋
camera
友问
phone.
我这个视频怎么拍摄的，今天我来教大家这个拍摄方法。首先，我们点开右下角的圆圈，点开拍同款，然后点单击拍摄。
Look at how powerful that is. You can zoom in and see the pieces on the board. That is better than a lot of, high-powered camera equipment. I'm not a photographer either, but I've seen a lot of cameras, and they were zooming in from quite far away. Certainly the best camera phone that I've ever seen. That is just insane to think about. The types of things that you'll be able to do with a phone like that. Imagine how much that would increase the ability of, say, someone from another country to be able to spy on someone, to be able to spy on another country. And coincidentally, or perhaps not so coincidentally, I don't know, Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa Mosque fire burns at the same time as flames engulf Notre Dame. So we have Notre Dame, a bastion of Catholicism, burning in Paris, and the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem on fire at the exact same time. That's pretty strange. A fire broke out at the revered Al-Aqsa Mosque compound in Jerusalem just as flames ravaged the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. Footage showing smoke and fire emerging from the roof of a structure known as the Marwani Prayer Room or Solomon's Stables could be seen on social media. The Palestine News Agency, the official outlet of the Palestinian National Authority, cited a guard as saying Monday that the fire broke out in the guard's room outside the roof of the Marwani Prayer Room, and the fire brigade of the Islamic Waqf handled the matter successfully. News of the incident at the Al-Aqsa Mosque, the third holiest site in Islam and central to the ongoing Arab-Israeli conflict, was largely overshadowed by a much larger blaze engulfing the Notre Dame Cathedral at the exact same time. Very, very interesting. Let's take a look.
هاي هي الحريقة يا شباب. خزانة الحارس كلها ولعت.
The Palestine News Agency reported that Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas's office expressed its deepest regret Monday over the fire that broke out at the historic Notre Dame Cathedral in the center of the French capital of Paris, which caused the collapse of the cathedral tower. The presidency confirmed its solidarity and sympathy with our friends in France over this incident, the outlet added. The Mawani prayer room is located underneath the southeastern corner of the Temple Mount, known to Muslims as Haram al-Sharif, which contains both the Dome of the Rock and Al-Aqsa Mosque. Sheikh Azam al-Khatib, Director General of the Jerusalem Waqf and Al-Aqsa Mosque Affairs Department, told Jordan's Al-Mamlaka TV that the fire broke out in the courtyard, and preliminary information suggested that it may have been caused by children tampering in the area. The compound as a whole is located in Old City section of East Jerusalem, initially occupied by Jordan during the 1948 Arab-Israeli conflict that followed the establishment of Israel, but later seized by Israel during the Second War in 1967. Israel annexed the entirety of the city in 1980 in a move not recognized by much of the international community, though Jordan's monarchy was granted custodial rights over the Islamic holy sites. In a controversial move, President Donald Trump recognized the entire city of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel in December of 2017, dismissing competing Palestinian claims to the city and upsetting a broad international consensus. No official explanations have yet been provided for either of Monday's fires, though French media has suggested that the fire at the Notre Dame Cathedral may have been related to ongoing renovation experts. Well, I'm just going to say it again. I think that it's very chilling that these two fires broke out at the same time in two of the holiest places in the world. Well, I mean, three. You've got the entire area here as considered holy by both Muslims and Jews, and then you've got Notre Dame, extremely holy and revered by Catholics and Christians. So this is, basically the entire world of religious doctrine literally burning before our eyes. What are the chances that that's going to happen at the exact same time? I don't know, guys. You tell me. I think that's all I've got for you tonight. I want to thank you for joining me. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.